Welcome to Longer, Healthier, Better. You are team members of the John Hancock family, and we are so pleased to be with you here in Boston. Together, over the next day and a half, we are going to see the latest advances in longevity and health. I'm Janet Wu. I spent 15 years as a health correspondent and anchor at 7 NBC here in Boston before joining Bloomberg 5 years ago to cover business in this innovation hub. If there is one universal wish shared by everyone that I know, it is to live a long and healthy life. The life insurance industry is changing, and we are sure you see that in your client base. People are taking steps to live longer, just look at their wrists and their fingers, and they're seeking financial protections to support a long life. Manulife and John Hancock want to shift the life insurance conversation to emphasize the life part. And as a company, it wants to support you and your clients in that goal. Today, and this is the perfect day for this because Mother Nature wants us to be inside, we are going to hear experts from the fields of nutrition, sleep, stress, fitness, healthcare, mindfulness, and more. Tomorrow, we will look at the advances in disease prevention, specifically the early detection of cancer. For the next 2 days, we hope you will set aside your distractions, your email, your phones, and really dive in with us into these life-changing and life-saving issues. We have a lot packed into a very fast-moving program, but I promise you, you will have plenty of breaks. And during those breaks, when you're not in this room, there are incredible interactive experiences for you to explore just on the other side of those doors. They will feature a number of our partners and guest speakers. Now, as you make your way through that expo, be sure to check in at each booth because that will give you a chance to win a number of incredible surprises and prizes from our partners. This gathering is the vision of Brooks Tingle, President and CEO of John Hancock. Since becoming CEO, Brooks has really broadened the idea of what an insurance company should be. Here now is Brooks to kick off the symposium and tell you more about what's in store.
Catch me, MJ. Hey, thank you so much. Great to have everyone here. It was a little difficult, I know, for a lot of folks to get here with travel. Appreciate the efforts. I heard there were planes, trains, automobiles, all involved. But we're so grateful to have you here. This is something a little bit different. Would you agree? Yeah. Different than a normal insurance meeting? I hope you find it really different. And you're going to hear, you've all had a chance to look at the agenda, just amazing folks from academia, science, technology. I guess I'm sort of the least inspiring part of this. I get to tell you why we're here, but or at least scientific at least. But I do want to talk to you a little bit about why we are doing this, why we have brought you here, and what we're hoping to accomplish. To start, I want to explain a little bit about who we are as Manulife and John Hancock. I'm sure that everyone in the room knows that John Hancock is the U.S. operating entity and brand for the global company, Manulife Financial. And together, we're trying to do something I think really quite unique, which is marry all the strengths of, let's be blunt, really old companies. Hancock's been here in Boston for over 160 years. Manulife's operated in Canada for over 130 years. I told you I wasn't very scientific, but I think if my math is right, that's almost 300 years of combined experience. And there's a lot of cool stuff that comes from being in this business that long. People trust us. We've been resilient. It's hard to believe, but when everyone was saying COVID was a once-in-a-lifetime thing, not for us. We were around for the Spanish flu in 1917. We've been through world wars, all these types of things. So resilience, trust, experience. I think we've seen a lot of the startups that have sort of come and gone, which have been doing some really good things. I don't want to criticize them, but didn't really have some of the experience and expertise needed to serve you and your clients the right way. And then, of course, we enjoy tremendous brands and a global reach. Those are all great things. But I think only the most charitable observer of our industry would say that our industry has been innovative. And we live in a modern digital economy. Your customers have apps for everything, multiple devices, all this great stuff. We can't continue to operate the way we've operated for almost a combined 300 years. So we want to marry all the strengths of having been around for a long time with the leading edge of innovation in our industry and beyond. And I'm pleased to say that's not just an ambition, it's something we're already doing with proof points like Vitality in both the US and Canada, Aspire, the only life insurance of its kind for people living with diabetes here in the US, our partnership with Grail that you'll hear more about tomorrow, lots of investment and commitment we're making in the digital realm. But simply put, our desire to be on the leading edge of innovation focuses on one area primarily. And that's the theme and notion of this gathering: helping people live longer, healthier, and better lives. Why? Many of you have heard me say this over the years, but it seems to me eminently logical that a life insurance company would want people to live longer. Does that kind of make sense? So I would say, even out of just overt self-interest, why has the insurance industry not engaged its clients and tried to help them live longer, healthier lives? For us, it's far more than a matter of self-interest. This is a matter of values, principles, and conviction. That's why we're doing this. We think it's the right thing to do. We think it's good for business, not just for us, but for everyone in this room, but it's also the right thing to do for your clients and for society as a whole. So longer, I think we all get that. Sometimes really cynical people will say to me, Tingle, you talk about longer, healthier, better. You just really want them to live longer. If people were hooked up to machines for 10 years, you'd hold off paying claims and you'd be better off. I suppose narrowly and technically that's true. I remind them that we have 1 million long-term care policyholders, and we sure want folks to live both longer and healthier, I can promise you. But even beyond the economics of it, I would say again, first and foremost, values and conviction. Who does not want to help the people you know, yourself, as a whole, live longer, healthier? And healthier is really important. You guys have heard the term health span. There's lifespan, but then there's health span. Lifespan is just the duration of years that you live. Health span is the duration of years that you're living and healthy. And for far, far too many of us, we're living longer, but living longer less healthy. And we're committed to people, helping people not just live longer, but healthier. And then lastly, better. Because you could live longer, you could even live longer, healthier, but don't we all kind of want to be happy and relatively stress-free? Something I strive for, sleep, a good night's sleep. So it's really all three of these that we're committed to. And what we're hoping to achieve today is do something really special for all of you. You are our most important partners. To be honest with you, and not to sound immodest, we could have had 1,000 people in this room. We chose the people to be in this room that are our most important partners, the biggest influencers in our industry across the US and Canada, and the people that we wanted to start with on this message. So for you, not only are you our most important partners, I'm really blessed to be able to call many of you good friends. I'm hoping that you personally hear something over the next couple of days, maybe many things that changes your life in some way. Maybe you hear about the Grail test, the Gallery test, and say, you know what, maybe I'll take that. And I hope this isn't so. Maybe you'll find out you have cancer at an early stage that you wouldn't have known about for years. Maybe you hear something about sleep that changes the way you think about sleep. Just one little thing about nutrition could, and I hope, and I think will, change lives in this room. But a theme you'll hear us talk about throughout is amplification, the amplifying effect. I'm really hoping you all leave this room taking a lot out of it over the next couple of days, but then share it with your friends and family. Tell stories about what you heard about nutrition, about sleep, about stress, all the great stuff we're going to talk about. Share it with your friends and family. Maybe you'll change their lives. Maybe you'll help them live longer, healthier, better lives. And then you know what? Share it with your clients. Again, this is like a wave, amplification. You, your family, your friends, your clients, and your clients are so important. Our industry has done a great job for a long time. I'm an essential protection, essential solutions, planning for the end, tax efficiency, all the great stuff we do. But how powerful would it be if our industry wasn't just associated with death or even retirement? It was associated with living better, longer, healthier, better life. Nobody could touch our industry if that was true. And I really hope you can bring that to your clients, because there's no greater meaning, in my view, being able to help your clients with the most important planning needs, but also potentially save their lives. And you think I'm being dramatic? We have many, many clients now whose lives have literally been saved by virtue of the fact that one of you sold them life insurance with John Hancock and with Vitality. Maybe it was the woman who got a mammogram who didn't otherwise plan to, but wanted 400 silly John Hancock Vitality points. Literally told me, I wouldn't have gotten a mammogram for 3 or 4 years if I didn't want your silly points. She did it, early stage breast cancer, treated successfully. Many customers now, through the Gallery test by Grail, have found out that they have early stage cancer solely because somebody in this room or outside this room sold them a John Hancock policy with Vitality, and we offered them the Grail test and they took it and found out they had cancer. Somebody recently got the offer from us, went to their primary care physician. Primary care physician said, that's kind of new. You're in great health. You don't need to take the test. Client said, you know what? I think I'm going to take it anyways. Took the test and it came back. You'll learn more about how this test works if you don't already know. But it said, cancer signal detected in your blood. Have your doctor check your pancreas. Client goes back to his primary care doctor. I'm not referring people to this primary care doctor, by the way. Back to his primary care doctor. Primary care doctor said, it's probably wrong. You're young, you're healthy, don't worry about it. Well, thankfully, we have Grail here with us. They're going to be speaking tomorrow. The folks at Grail said to the client, listen, it's your life, but you got to get a second opinion. Within 3 days of that second opinion, that client started treatment for stage 2 pancreatic cancer. And we don't know which of our clients took it, but Grail has told us that that client tells everyone he interacts with in the hospital, the person that takes his blood, the person who hooks up his IV, the nurse, the doctor, the surgeon, whomever, that John Hancock, that his life insurance company literally saved his life. How often do you hear of stage 2 pancreatic cancer being diagnosed? He just recently completed 45 days of treatment, had surgery, and just ran a half marathon about 30 days ago. So that's what we're trying to do here. So for you, your family and friends, your clients, and in doing so, we're going to change what it means to be in your profession and for us to all be part of this industry. Not just talking about death, not just talking about tax planning, but talking about living a longer, healthier, better life. Just doesn't get any better than that, right? Society as a whole, the ultimate part of it here. So I'm pretty excited about that. I think personally, I literally, despite my lousy sleep habits, bounce out of bed every morning so excited to be able to do something where we can all enjoy commercial success. Everything we're going to, you guys knowing this stuff, us talking about it, you sharing it with your clients, promise you, really good for business. But it's also just really good to enjoy success commercially and success in helping people in society. Imagine the feeling of being the advisor on one of those clients who found out they had early stage cancer by a result of buying Vitality and having the Gallery test done. How would you feel? I mean, you literally, I'm not being overly dramatic, you literally saved their life. Maybe we come out of this just influencing many people's lives in a positive way. Doesn't get any better than that. So one of the things I'm most excited about is that all of this amplification I talked about across the US, starting with you guys, across Canada, we have many of our wonderful partners from our Canadian individual insurance business here, but also globally. I mentioned before, Manulife, global company, 34 million customers globally. This is something that's a commitment from Manulife across the globe. And I'm so honored, excited, and privileged to be able to introduce the fellow that Roy Gorey, who's our president and CEO, isn't just a supporter of this. It's not like we go to Roy and say, hey, can we do this? He begrudgingly says, yeah. Roy is like the passionate driver behind all of this ambition, challenges us every day. I think I'm pretty proactive about this stuff. Trust me, Rory's pushing us to say, can we do more along these lines? And he's the one that's going to be driving it globally. So it's a great honor and pleasure to both welcome you and to turn it over to Roy Gorey, our President and CEO of Manulife Financial. Thank you.
Thank you, Brooks. I don't think there's a person that's more passionate about our industry and about helping customers live longer, healthier lives than Brooks Tingle. Can you please put your hands together one more time for Brooks? Good morning and welcome everyone to our first ever Longevity Symposium. I wanted to start by offering a few special thanks. The first is to Mayor Wu, who is not only a fantastic supporter of what we're doing here today, but as someone that's incredibly passionate about this topic. And again, this topic needs a lot of passion. So thank you, Mayor Wu, for joining us and also for being such a strong advocate. I want to also thank the presenters and speakers and the incredible partners that have come to join us over the next couple of days, who again are not only passionate but are also driving this topic and helping not just the people here in Boston but globally people live longer, healthier lives. And lastly, I want to thank each and every one of you for what you do each and every day to not only support customers, but to really passionately work with them to ensure that they and their families are in the best possible condition, both financially, physically, and from a longevity and health perspective that they possibly can be. So thank you, thank you, thank you. As Brooks said, Manulife and John Hancock has a very long and proud history. We've operated for more than 160 years, as you know, across 22 countries, 3 broad geographies, the US, Canada, and Asia. And we serve more than 34 million customers, and it's a privilege to serve those customers and clients through you and through the support that we have through the various partners that we operate with. For the 38,000 colleagues that work for us globally, we're all bound together by a very simple purpose and mission. It's the guiding North Star that helps us with every decision that we need to make in our company. And that mission is to make decisions easier and lives better. That's it. It's a simple idea that really binds each and every one of us. And it's one that we're all incredibly passionate about. And I can't think of a better way to drive and support that agenda than what we're doing here today in Boston through this Longevity Symposium, which is why I am so incredibly excited about this event. And again, like most things that we do across our company, we do a lot of it here first in Boston. Vitality is another example of that. And then we do export it and scale it to other geographies, again, which is one of the tremendous opportunities that we have being such a large global organization. The idea of testing, piloting, and then ramping it up and making it a bigger and better idea. But this is a really tremendous example of what we're trying to do and what we're trying to achieve, and that is to help customers not only live longer, but healthier lives. One of the big issues that we're seeing globally is that we have a population that is aging at a rate that we've never seen it age before. In fact, by 2050, we're going to see the percentage of the population that's age 60 and above will almost double, from about 12% today to about 22%. We also know that people are in fact living longer. In fact, since 1960, life expectancy has increased by 20 years. But the challenge is that people aren't necessarily always living healthier lives and more fulfilling lives. So a symposium like this is about trying to not only help people live longer lives, but live healthier and better lives. And that's again why I'm so excited about the opportunity to talk to you all today and to have some amazing speakers that are passionate about this topic. I guess my hope is that each of you leave this event, this conference, and come away feeling inspired and excited personally for your own, I guess family and self, but also with some practical tips and ideas that you can provide to your loved ones and to those that you're supporting, your clients, on how they can live healthier and better lives and ultimately translating into real value, because this is what we're all about creating real value for customers and clients and the people that we support. So in closing, thank you again for all the amazing work that you do. Thank you for the support of this conference, and have an awesome conference. Thank you again.
Thank you, Roy, very much. Appreciate it. And we are going to be really fast-paced, as Janet said, over the next couple of days. You'll see there's no presentation that's even an hour long, just boom, boom, boom. And we're going to start with really just a few minutes, but with just a wonderful set of guests. First, we have the wonderful Mayor of Boston, Mayor Michelle Wu, if you'd please join us. Thank you so much. Welcome. And then colleague, Dr. Bisola Ojikutu, who is the Executive Director of the Boston Health Commission. So great to have you, Doctor. Please join us. Thank you so much. Mayor Wu, it's been a long day already. Hey, great to have you here. I can't think of anybody better to welcome our guests to the city of Boston than you.
Thank you so much. It is an incredible honor. Good morning to all, and welcome to our city, where we're so thrilled that you're here. And most of all, we are so grateful to Brooks and to everyone on the team for making sure that we're all having a conversation about an area of innovation, of opportunity, and of well-being for so many of our residents that can really shape the conversations nationwide. I am very honored to be in my role serving alongside an incredible team, and our focus every day is to make Boston the best city for families anywhere in the country. There's a lot of pieces to that around public safety and health and education and jobs and workforce development and climate resiliency. But we know that we have such a rich starting point here in Boston. And when it comes to the topic of longevity, I would venture to say, might be a little bit biased, but you won't find a better cluster and longevity economy anywhere between the life sciences, biotech, pharma, academia, our corporate partners, the public sector, nonprofits. We think about collaboration differently in Boston, and we have all the ingredients ready to go, and so we're eager to hear your ideas. And I will just say in general, our city is looking forward in a couple years to celebrating our 400th anniversary, and so longevity, just as a responsibility and sense of stewardship for community, is something that's very important in our legacy. We mark many milestones along that way. One note that I bring up as an example sometimes of the time scale that Boston thinks about is not just to the next year, not just to the next election cycle. When the city of Boston and Harvard University signed a deal almost 200 years ago at this point, for a public park called the Arboretum to be a place where they would try to collect every species of tree in the world and have them on display so we could learn and cultivate. They inked a deal for a 1,000-year lease and contract with the option to extend for another 1,000 years. So that's how we think about this in Boston when it comes to people and people's lives. We're excited to partner.
Well, thank you so much, and I really get excited about your vision as Boston as sort of a longevity. We've been referred to as the hub for a while, but the longevity hub. We do have all those ingredients, and at Hancock and Manulife, we're really honored to sort of help propel that.
Oh, sure.
Well, it's up to you guys. Do you want to sit?
We're going to play musical chairs.
Yeah. No, okay. We'll do that. Yeah. Really honored to help, hopefully be a part of that. Now, I know part of your role, you've got lots of issues to focus on here locally every day, but I know you also spend time with other mayors and understand matters that are important in other cities. And it seems to me that it's these issues of public health, and we'll certainly talk about this as well, are I'm sure common across cities across America, correct?
Yeah, this is, it's a moment of both such tremendous need, because we still see the impact of a very, very destabilizing and revealing several years through the pandemic, but also a moment of, I would call it, focused urgency, where there's a chance through federal programs and funding that's been created, and just a public willingness to get involved and to see change that we're trying to galvanize and direct into specific tangible next steps here in Boston. I think many of the issues, whether that are catching the headlines in the news, as you look across the country, whether it is floods or earthquakes or climate, disruption from major weather disasters, or the sort of rise of issues related to the housing crisis and recovery in terms of of jobs and our economic situation. At the heart of all of this is whether people have that baseline of health and well-being to be able to do all the other things in their lives. And we've seen such wide disparities that we actually have the potential to address when we choose to and when we mobilize the resources.
Totally agree. And Dr. Ojikutu, when you think about mobilizing resources, if you were able to hear in my opening remarks, I talked about the fact that I think industry needs to be more of a player here. You have public health officials trying to tackle all these issues. You have academia, you have scientific parts of the economy and so forth. But what do you think it's going to take to really move the needle on these major public health issues, help people live longer, healthier, better lives? I imagine it's going to take collaboration across a lot of different groups.
No, absolutely. I think overall it's important to note, and Mayor Wu emphasized this, that Boston is a relatively healthy city if you compare it to the other cities in the U.S. I mean, our life expectancy overall is around 80.2, and that's our most recent data. We do have challenges. We have disparities. We have a neighborhood that's in Back Bay, which is a neighborhood with higher income, where life expectancy is 92, whereas we have a neighborhood, a small area in Roxbury, which is a largely black area with lower income, where life expectancy is 69. So that's a 23-year life expectancy gap, and that's common across the U.S. I mean, if you look across the U.S., that's definitely what we see. But here in Boston, I think we're in a very unique position because we have so many resources. We have so many wonderful academic centers. We have a network of community health centers that are so key to the work that we do, and we have life sciences, we have industry. So I think the question is, how do we work better together to tackle these issues? How do we collaborate? I think one example that showed how well we collaborate is when you think about the last 3 years in COVID-19. We had a common foe. We worked together. We didn't silo. We actually targeted ourselves and channeled our activities and our resources. And that's what we need to do as we think about these issues of life expectancy disparities. We need to figure out ways to work better together.
That's a striking statistic, isn't it? Just right within this community, within, I don't know, as a crow flies, how many miles?
It's 2 miles, a little over 2 miles.
23-year difference? In a moment, I'm going to ask you what you're most optimistic about looking forward, but I do have to be realistic. There are lots of challenges today in your role. What are the sort of biggest, I'm guessing a couple years ago you would have said COVID-19. Thankfully, we're not going to have too many more references to COVID here today, hopefully. But today, I know there are no shortage, but what are sort of the most pressing public health matters that you find yourself focused on day to day?
So I think one of them relates to what I just said. So we know that there are neighborhoods where health isn't optimized. We know that there are neighborhoods where there isn't, sort of the support system, the wherewithal to have healthy longevity. So that's certainly a public health issue, and that's certainly something that Mayor Wu is focused in on. I think one of the other major issues, even when you think about things like premature mortality, is substance use disorder, and the issues that all of us have across the nation, across the world, with substance use disorder. And we've noted an increase in opioid-related mortality over time. So then how do we tackle that? And how do we tackle the fact that a lot of those individuals are also unsheltered? And certainly that's what we spend an enormous amount of time on. And then think about mental health and the mental health crisis that we're all dealing with. I think that's another issue that we think about in public health, and we think about, well, how is it that we can optimize people's mental health as well as their physical health so that we can have healthy longevity?
Well, that's, I promise not to talk about COVID too much, but I would love your perspective on, we now think we're living in a post-COVID world, but there are some aspects of post-COVID that are a little hard to define because I know people in the health insurance business that are seeing lots of later stage cancers walking into the door because of deferred preventative screening during COVID. You touched on an issue that's really important to us, and frankly, probably the most difficult aspect of the programs that we try to bring to bear, mental health.
Yes.
And if you could please comment, but my just observation from friends and family and so forth is that the wake of COVID is a amplification and intensification of what was already some pretty serious mental health issues in society. Is that so?
And mental health issues that we haven't fully addressed. And we don't have a good system of care, a true comprehensive coordinated system to manage mental health disorders, as well as to manage behavioral health and substance use disorders. It's a patchwork. And oftentimes we, in many communities, don't have enough therapists. We don't have enough mental health providers. We don't have enough addiction medicine specialists. These are all issues that we have to address and that we've invested in here in the city of Boston. We've actually put quite a bit of money into developing a Center for Behavioral Health and Wellness that's coordinating a lot of our activities around the city, and to really increase awareness and to decrease the stigma around mental health disorders.
Yeah, and Mayor Wu, I have so much respect for you. I remember one of the first meetings we were in, and I love all of my fellow CEOs here in the Boston community, but one of them said to the mayor, hey, I'm noticing a few more like homeless people on the streets. What are you going to do about that? As though, you know, that was a new phenomenon or unique to Boston. But a lot of it does, I think, homelessness, I think, ties to some of the mental health and the substance abuse issues, I think, because probably here in Boston, nobody has to be homeless overnight, I would think. We have shelters and things, but there are these different factors that prevent that. Like, how do you deal with questions when somebody say, what are you going to do about that?
Yeah, I think, and this is a challenge, I think, when it comes to all of the big, hard issues that we're trying to tackle. And certainly if the goal is longevity, there's a lot of very thorny situations to unravel and to try to get at root causes for. And, you know, I think even having the conversation is important because, frankly, there is a lot of misinformation out there, especially today, about what the causes are and what the root causes are and what we can do about it. And then there's the how do we lay an infrastructure that will actually last beyond just one Band-Aid we're trying to put on a situation. You know, if it depends if you see the problem as people on the street, or if you see the problem as people who need a systemic challenge where family members are falling through the cracks of a mental health system that's not coordinated with a housing system, that's not coordinated with recovery and treatment. And that's really the kind of infrastructure that Dr. Ojikutu has led the way in building here. We, you know, sometimes, again, when you just look on the surface level, it can still seem like we're having very intense challenges and we're working so hard every day. We've looked through the numbers as well. You know, every city has a point in time census count of unsheltered individuals who are living on the street at a snapshot of one evening when each city will go out and with advocates do a whole count. In 2022, Boston was at 119 individuals. Los Angeles was at nearly 25,000 people, right? So that is the scale. And obviously they're a bigger city, but even when you scale to population, even if you compare to cities in the Northeast where the weather is similar to ours, or Minneapolis where the numbers are still higher, there's something working about the ecosystem here that we're building that's not just about we're going to slap the Band-Aid on of trying to push everyone to somewhere else, but really understand how we build those systems. For me, this is something that is quite personal. I would not be in politics if there were probably 1,000 paths that I was thinking I would take when I was younger, and this was not even on the list of those. My mom was diagnosed with late onset schizophrenia when I was in my 20s, and that completely changed not only my family's life, but my understanding of how systems really aren't necessarily serving people, even if they're set up and even if the resources and programming are there, and also how health is really the foundation of everything else. Every time I'm at that part of our city where folks are most visibly struggling, I see my mom in the lives and in the stories of everyone who is there. And so we're doing everything we can while also acknowledging that it's person by person, but also the larger system. You know, I remember sitting with a researcher at Mass General who studies stigma. And he was explaining to me that over the last 20 years, the gaps in life expectancy have narrowed across almost every metric, across income level. Over the last 20 years, gaps have narrowed, although they're still there and we need to tackle them. Across race, they have narrowed, again, still far too large. But the only place where it has felt stuck in terms of life expectancy is individuals living with schizophrenia, right? There's internalized stigma, externalized stigma, structural stigma, and so the many complex ways in which the work that you all do, in sometimes being the very first line of defense, to hear about what people are going through, to recognize the ways in which multiple systems outside of the healthcare silo, for example, aren't working, that's what we hope to partner with you on and really try to make those connections.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that personal story, and I'm certain your mother would be very proud of something that was so challenging, I'm sure, at the time, having turned into motivation for a brilliant career. So, staying on a personal note, I guess, I have a little bit of insight into your calendar, trying to schedule things here and there, and your calendar, I think I'm pretty busy. Like, I can't believe your calendar, because you never know, there's never like really time off, right? Because something could happen, a water main could break, or a fire could happen, or some sort of tragedy in town. And how do you personally stay healthy and well with as demanding of a calendar as you have?
I wish I could pull my calendar up to show you all. There are probably 5 different colors that are color coding different types of things, including the kids' sports schedules.
Oh, great.
So my little ones are 6 and 8, and that adds another level of complexity. But I think for me, it starts with, again, what is the infrastructure that's there? And if every week I try to rearrange my schedule. Last night, for example, started early in the morning, got back home to pick up the kids from school, had a quick dinner with them, then went back out until past 10 p.m. at night. And so a couple days a week, I try to have that structure with them. And then all the rest of it, it's wherever possible, try to make it not about one person. Our team can handle basically everything there is to handle. And oftentimes, when I am on scene at a fire or a tragedy, it is mostly to give that moral support to the team members who are actually doing the work, or the community members who are, for whom it can make a difference to feel like the city sees them. But I'm not gonna kid myself that my presence in any of those spaces is the thing that's gonna make the services work. We have an incredible team of 23,000 people, and I do my best to be where I can be to show the stories and show the effectiveness. But this is again, an incredible city where things are happening, and it's not up to any single person.
Awesome. Let's start to wrap up on a note of optimism. Dr. Ojikutu, I mean, you study matters of health science. You're obviously a doctor by training. You, I'm sure, in your role, have a wonderful sort of line of sight into the innovation pipeline, if you will, sort of what's coming that should give us all optimism about achieving this goal of people living longer, healthier, better lives. Hopefully you're not struggling to be optimistic. I'm seeing your face, I'm like, oh.
My wheels are turning.
This whole thing's about, so what are you most optimistic about? What are you most excited about?
So I think this is a great question. And I think optimism and getting excited about things is important for your own mental health, and that really keeps us all, sane and I think stronger. When I think about what it is that's exciting about the health innovation pipeline and thinking about longevity, I know I'm an associate professor of medicine at Harvard Medical School, right? So I do research. That's where I came from. I'm very much so academically oriented. And I say this to say that I'm around lots of my colleagues who are always talking about their research, right? So I know about rapamycin and CRISPR and all sorts of things, all these things that are out there that are quite innovative. If we think about this issue of healthy longevity, though, it's not the innovation in the medication, in the technology, in the healthcare system. That's not where it's at. It's really at the level of innovative thinking about what's going on at the population level. What is it that we're doing within our cities, within our neighborhoods and our communities to make environments better for people? And for me, that's exciting. And that's what's exciting, I think, about working in our current administration, because I feel like what we're trying to do is truly think about these, determinants of life. These things like, okay, can we make this neighborhood more walkable? Can we make it more bikeable? Can we change the physical environment, the green space, so that people feel like they want to be engaged, And I think this is so important. This is about social cohesion. This is about what would change that life expectancy disparity that we talked about. If we got into those areas and we really invested in these things, if we thought about economic mobility amongst those individuals who are there and how that would change their perspective on life, that's what makes me excited. And I feel like that's what we're doing. I think that's truly the work of this administration. It's the work that's being led by Mayor Wu, and it's the work that I'm excited to be a part of. That's
great, and I think sort of building on that a little bit, a lot of investment goes into like treating conditions. And innovation to treat is great, particularly something like cancer, what have you. But one of our major themes is it sounds cliched, but prevention, get ahead of it.
Absolutely.
You know better than I, well over half of the deaths in the U.S. now are from things that none of us can control our exact date of demise, but we can influence it more than ever through choices we make about what we eat, whether we drink, whether we smoke, and unfortunately some things we can't control as much, like what neighborhood we live in and things. But I love that sort of view on let's try to change things in the home, in the city, in the neighborhood, and then go from there. Note of optimism. I'm sorry, I'm requiring optimism. You're optimistic by nature, though, I know. As you think about this topic in our community and beyond, what are you most optimistic about?
Even the fact that we are here at a major conference that one of our local anchor employers is convening is a huge deal. For a very long time, Boston has been a place of, I think of different silos, I'll call it, right? For a while it was defined by ethnic background or religious background, a struggle between Brahmins and the Irish in Boston. For a while it was defined by haves and have-nots and who could sort of run the machinery of city government, which was the key to patronage jobs and all of the, in fact, social determinants that you could unlock if you had the right connections. And I think we've really turned the corner on being in an era of envisioning a city that truly works for everyone. And that requires every sector, every possible individual who has potential and effort to offer to help them contribute to the economy, to our community, to our society. And so I'm so grateful. I know we've had a couple conversations and chances to meet in all different settings, and in every place you have a fantastic leader here who is really bringing the entire business community together and beyond in Boston to rally around what we can all do in terms of setting big goals and aiming for a vision of a future that really serves everyone. And I couldn't be more grateful to be a partner in that.
Well, awesome. We're super grateful to have had you here. Thank you for your leadership in the community. Thank you for your presence here. Dr. Ojikutu, great to meet you.
Meet you too.
Next time, a little more optimistic. But no, great. So great to have you. Thank you so much. I know how busy you both are. Thank you. And please, big thank you and welcome.